Liverpool creates some breathing room at the top of the table, while Man United find themselves in second with a recent run of good form. Spurs end a lackluster week with a loss against the Foxes, and Arsenal find themselves in the relegation discussion with more undisciplined, sloppy, and overall poor play than their loss to a surging Everton. We're joined by Evan Cheung in the Rat Tail Bunker and Barbershop Studio, and this is the Boys and Bolos Podcast. Welcome back to the Boys and Bolos Podcast. Jarrett, we're down here in the Rat Tail Bunker and Barbershop Studio. It is the end of match week 14. We're on to match week 15.
It's insane. Time is flying. I feel like tomorrow there's a game.
Yeah, there's a game in the... No, we got a couple days.
We got a couple days. All right, good. So we'll have like 10 hours to edit.
Yeah, we'll have like one day to edit as opposed to 12 hours.
Exactly. And Jeff doesn't have a full-time job and 9 kids, so that's good.
All right, so Jarrett, pretty special week. We got a big guest.
We got a big guest for a big Chelsea W. Evan Cheung, welcome to Boys and Bowls. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Chelsea have just won today against West Ham. I'm buzzing to talk about it with you guys, as well as the other Premier League fixtures from this match week.
He's happier now than he was earlier.
He's
See
not.
how that works when your team wins?
He says buzzing. I hear gloating.
He's trying to keep it cool. He's like, I text him like, Evan, don't get too over the top. Jeff's in his feelings.
Well, here's the thing. Like, right before, what was it? When you played Wolves last week? It wasn't even a week ago, was it?
No, it was like seconds ago.
Yeah, it felt like
just a few days ago.
I went on your Instagram Live, and I was like trying to see what you were all about, and then they lost, and I was like, I better not go on his Instagram Live post-match. He's going to be in his feelings. It's going to be terrible.
Yeah, that was a rough live. That was just, just going over what went wrong and trying to figure out what went wrong really with the match. The game just slipped away from us, I feel, but...
Well, you corrected yourself. You righted the ship at West Ham, which is always a tough opponent for Chelsea, especially last season.
Yes,
where you
definitely.
Lost both games.
Yeah, correct.
They did the double, which was... Ugh.
Yeah, it was rough.
Not West Ham. Like, of all the teams in London, that's the last team I would think would do it, you know?
So, do you want to get straight to the questions, Jarrett?
Yeah, let's go. Let's put
dive
him in
right
the
in.
hot seat.
Okay.
Welcome to the pod, Evan. You're in the hot seat.
Here
right,
are the questions.
go.
All right, fire off.
Who is Chelsea's best player currently?
That's a good question.
He's sweating. You guys can't see it, but he's sweating.
I think I got asked this a few days ago on my live. Before that Wolves or Everton match, I think I would say Reece James. One, because he's keeping Azpilicueta out of the side. Yes, he did just get a injury, but I think he's done great. You know, he's not letting Aspi get back in the side.
It's contribution because that's fine.
I actually no, he's good. He's good. He's impressed me this season, I think.
He has how old is he? I think
he's only like 20.
He's
around
so
there.
Young.
Holy crap!
Chelsea has a bunch of young.
He's an academy
dudes.
kid, right? He came up.
He's an academy
Yes,
kid.
correct. Just turned 21.
He just turned 21. Okay, so
Yeah.
he's your best player because he keeps Aspi out of the starting 11, which Jeff and I agree wholeheartedly. And what else about him?
He had a solid game today, Aspie.
Aspi did have a solid game. What's something else you see that he's going to bring to the team?
Definitely, as we can see that, I think from last season, our main struggle was having good service and good delivery into the box. That's why we went for Hakim Ziyech, who can also cross, but as well as Reece James, I think going on that right-hand side, he has one of the best deliveries in the Premier League. We see him link up with Giroud, with Tammy Abraham, or with really any of the attackers. I think that's one of his main key attacking attributes to his game. And as opposed to Aspi, yes, we didn't really see much of Aspi reigning forward down the flank, but Reece James, that's mainly Reece James's role, I would say, to attack on the flank, get forward, and put in those crosses.
Reece James is a sign of the times. He's a new back, right?
He
He's part of this Marcelo, Jordi Alba, Lam when he was outside for Bayern. Guys who were actually, or Alphonso Davies, guys who were actually super offensive, but they put him in the back. So that way when they transition, they even have more offensive guys going forward. Whereas Aspi is part of an older stalwart type of defense where you just put 4 in the back and the defenders have the least amount of skill on the field. You know, whereas Alphonso Davies, I think, is the best example, and I think Reece James could kind of fit in that mold where he's going to get up, he's going to link play, he's going to do a good, a 1-2, a third-man run, get him behind. And so it's interesting. That is not the player I would have said. I said, Jeff, I'm going to ask him, and I think he's going to say Mendy. But, you say Reece James, and I like that a lot because if it's not Mendy, I would even say my second could be Thiago Silva, and that is strictly because he makes everyone around him better, and he makes Zuma look like, I don't know, a young Carlos Puyol, which I'm going to get laughed at for in the comments. But so if it's not Reece James, who's your second favorite player? Or best, who's Chelsea's second best player?
Chelsea's best second player this season would be Mason Mount. I think he had a great game today, but overall throughout the season, I think he's played the most minutes out of everyone since the start of last season. So definitely shows how much trust Lampard has in him.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. I think that's
Mason Mount's
phenomenal call. Because Mason Mount is a guy who we talked about at the end of last season, and we were kind of worried because at the end of last season, the Chelsea games, you look up in the stands and there was Werner and Hakim were just hanging out, and you're like, God, these guys are going to step in. And Christian Pulisic is looking unstoppable. And, Mason Mount isn't a guy who's going to play in the middle for the wingers. I just didn't think he was going to have a place or even find the 10 because I figured that Havertz would have stepped into that role. So I've been very impressed that Mason has been able to not just compete, but really solidify. Like, I think if I'm writing up a team sheet, he's one of the first guys on there, especially in the top 4.
Yeah, definitely 100% agree. Mainly due to the fact that Lampard changed the system as well. We went to a 4-3-3 with Kante sitting deep, and then we're playing like 2 8s as in Mason Mount and Kai Havertz. So that does, I guess, diminish any talk about, he's going to lose playing time because of Havertz and all of our new signings. We still got Kovacic, Jorginho, Billy Gilmore, who's very young and very exciting player. But yeah, we've got really good competition in our side. I think it only goes up from here.
What did you think in the game today? Because this is one of the things Jeff and I noticed was him not starting Havertz. Do you agree with that?
I agree. I definitely agree. I predicted that he wasn't going to start Havertz. I also did a prediction he might not start Timo Werner, but we don't really have any other fit wingers, so we kind of had to play Werner. But going back to your question, yeah, Kai Havertz, he just didn't really have a good game against Everton, against Wolves, and I think it was valid to drop him. We do have other options, like Jorginho came in today. He had an okay game, I would say, not the best, but we also have Kovacic. Going back to Havertz, he played in a right wing role, I believe, today. Is that correct?
When he came on, Pulisic.
Yeah, so he was on the right.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Pulisic and Timo Werner are both, I know Pulisic is a righty. Timo Werner is also a righty. Am I right on that? I'm pretty sure I'm right on that.
I believe so, yeah.
Because they both, and I'm a righty, and I love being on the left wing because it's lazy man soccer, because it's so much easier to cut inside your defender. If you're going to go on the outside of your defender's not going to let you do that. But if you cut on the inside, he's going to pass you off, and it's in those moments of where you're getting passed off between the right back and the center back, where if you exploit that chaos, you can get a shot, a deadly pass, or dribble into that space. So Timo Werner and Pulisic were... The announcer was talking about they were both throughout the entire game trying to get on the left side, and they were both better. I mean, you think about in the restart last year when Pulisic dribbled like 4 Liverpool players, that's because he was on the left and he kind of drove into the middle. And as a guy who's a righty who plays in a more higher up, I think it's lazy because you have to work less hard if you drift inside. That was interesting to see. So when Havertz comes in, it kind of throws that off. Jeff, what did you think, Kai Havertz? Jeff, what are your thoughts on Kai Havertz in general? Is he a good guy?
I think Kai Havertz is a fine, upstanding German boy. But he's just having trouble, I think, adjusting to the Premier League.
What do you think he needs to do to adjust then?
Well, obviously he needs to play some Champions League games, play the cup games, and then find his way into the side by coming on as a sub and adjusting to the system and showing that he's like we talked about last. They bought the potential of Havertz, and that's why I think everybody's like, it was 80 million. Shit, like why isn't he so good? I think it's just like pump the brakes, wait and see. I think he'll fit in. He'll be fine. I think Werner came out and said that he was still adjusting, like he was still finding the pace of the Premier League to be something that he wasn't quite used to. I think a lot of German players come over and they struggle with that. So
I think one of the things too, I hear this conversation a lot. It's not just the speed of play, because I do think the Bundesliga is just as technical and at times can be just as fast. It's the schedule. We just have so many more games. And when I was in Germany in college, we went over to do some preseasons. I remember hearing people talk about, this is after the World Cup in 2006, but I remember the idea of an English week. And that was something the Germans would say, it's an English week, referencing a time when you would play 3 times in a calendar week, because that's madness. And over there, they're like, we're absolutely not going to do that. And so I think it's not just the speed of play, because I think the Bundesliga is phenomenal. Obviously, we look at Bayern Munich. They won the Champions League, and they kind of coasted through to get there. So clearly the top teams there are phenomenal and they're competitive. The English calendar is very, very difficult for players to kind of get used to. And so it's going to be interesting to see where Kai Havertz fits in that. And one of the next things that we really wanted to ask you as a Chelsea fan, once again, I'm so happy you're on because I'm normally just like my own echo chamber. What do you think Chelsea needs to do to, because I don't think they are right now, and you can disagree, to be title contenders this year? What are the things they need to do?
Yeah, so I think with this question, it mainly points back to the Everton and Wolves match. As you see in the Wolves match, we were winning 1-0, and then we just threw the game away. So I think, Premier League champions wouldn't let that happen. Would Liverpool let that happen? No. Would, I don't know, other title contenders let that happen? No. I think keeping that consistency in our defense is the main priority. We have done that this season, I think, with Mendy, with Thiago Silva. The thing about Mendy is that I like how vocal he is, as opposed to Kepa, who I think is a shyer character, or he isn't as, vocal of his thoughts and expressions to his defense. But definitely consistency at the back is key.
Consistency as a back is everything. And what you just said is so important about a goalie. I cannot stress that enough. Whenever I'd play, even as a forward going against other goalies, and you've lost that first ball in the box, or that first corner goes in the box, he doesn't say keeper, come out with his knee at your head and get the ball, for the rest of the game, he's just not confident, because you can't communicate well if you're not a confident goalkeeper. And I think it really helps, and this is just kind of happenstance, that you have Zuma, who's a French speaker, Thiago Silva, who was in PSG for 8 seasons, who definitely speaks French, and Mendy. They can all communicate there. So he doesn't have to come in and just try to maybe stumble over his English or worry about that. And when you're playing in not your native language, if it's not your native language, it's difficult. It's more difficult. And so I think that really helps the communication. And I've seen them grow into that more. And it was super frustrating. That's why it was so frustrating in the Everton game. We lost that. We didn't lose that game. But yeah, we jeopardized winning that game and ended up losing that game because Mendy comes out and makes a stupid error and fouls when he came to get that ball. I definitely think we need more clean sheets. However, I think we've had more clean sheets this season, almost through 14 games, than we probably had all last season. Because last season, the Kepa factor just destroyed us. So definitely defense. Jeff, what do you think in defense Chelsea needs? Or we talked about they need a 10 maybe?
And no, I think they'll figure it out. I think when you think of Chelsea, they're going to score some goals. They've got 5 or 6 guys on any given day that can score a goal. And I wouldn't say that about Tottenham, but I'd say that about Liverpool, and I'd say that about Chelsea. And you need that. You need to have all these different guys that can score goals. So I don't think that's their problem.
I'd say that about City and United too, if I have to.
United too, yeah. I don't know about City these days, but United, yeah, for sure.
Maybe not City.
Yeah, maybe not City. Their defense definitely needs to be consistent. I am a little concerned now that you guys are heading into a busy stretch, and Reece James is hurt, some kind of knee issue, and Chilwell has picked up a knock. I don't know what Chilwell's injury. I think it's an ankle.
Yeah, how serious is that, Evan? Do you know?
I don't know, but it didn't look good. He had to come off, so
it didn't look good.
I don't think that's a good sign. It looked like he twisted his ankle though from the replay, but
it looked like a twist.
Sure.
The only good thing is that he was able to get up and try to keep playing, so it wasn't one of those ones where you do it and you're just like, I can't move my leg.
So it was a ligament damage, not a broken bone.
Yeah.
So
it's a ligament for sure.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: Chilwell's been picked up a few knocks now. He's missed a few games. I'm a little concerned. I mean, those outside, they're asking a lot. Frank's asking a lot from those outside backs, and they have to play pretty physical, and they gotta cover a lot of distance, and they have to play as wingers as well as defenders. So those players are gonna have to rotate a little bit more, I think, than Silva and Zuma will. You'll see Zuma in probably every game this season. Silva maybe not, because he's a little older and recovery is just not as quick. But I think Mendy I predicted at the beginning of the season that Chelsea would win the title. As a Spurs fan, it hurt me to say that, but all these signings, it was huge. And
Evan's smile is, I can, it's just so big.
But I was banking on the fact that they were going to get rid of Kepa, and we were talking about Oblak, and we were talking about.
We were dreaming. I was like, oh my God.
Like Henderson,
maybe.
Oblak's the dream.
Oh,
yeah.
Oblak's the dream.
Oblak's the dream.
We're thinking of T-shirt ideas for next year's swag, and that would be when Oblak's the dream. People would be like, what is it? If you saw it, you'd Google Oblak.
Yeah, and so Mendy, actually, he wasn't even on my radar because I didn't know, Rennes a smaller team, so I was surprised. But when I looked at his the amount of clean sheets he had and his goals against was pretty impressive. So I thought that was great. And he's a big guy and a dominant presence in the box. And I think that him and Silva are key for you guys being especially top 4. I mean, easily top 4 this year. Just don't know. Liverpool's can be knocked off the throne. We thought that the injuries thing was going to,
Yeah, I think
have a
everyone
bigger
thought
impact,
Liverpool was
so.
going to be a wounded beast for a second, but it did not turn out like that. And Jeff's right. As we kind of go into the Christmas stretch and the longer stretch, what are the players you think Frank's going to have to kind of bring into the fold to make sure we stay competitive on all fronts?
Yeah, so I think there's one player that really stands out. If you remember, early in the season, we played West Brom. It was a 3-3 result that we were able to salvage, but the one player that I want to talk about is Marcus Alonso. Where has he been since? Essentially, after that game, what I heard was once he got subbed off, he left on the bus, and then he just sat there until the end of the match. And Lampard and him didn't really get along after. So he hasn't even been in the match day squad for a while now, at least for the Premier League, I believe. So I think he might be someone that we might have to, I guess, sort of bring back into the side. We do have Emerson, who played today in the absence or because of the injury to Chilwell, but that's, I think, the first name that springs to my mind.
Because I think Chilwell's been very good. Very, very good. Huge get.
I think Chilwell's been good too, but if Chilwell is out and Reece James is out, I think Alonso has to come back. Alonso's a class player.
And who else is there?
Well, you got Tomori too, and I guess he can play on the outside. And then that's kind of it. And then I honestly see Chelsea kind of going into more of like a 3-5-2 situation, playing 3 back, because Thiago's fairly comfortable in a 3 back if he has the right pieces on the outside. The only problem with that is it just puts Zuma on part of that 3. We just because Alonso has to play with wing backs. I don't think he's in a 4 back. He gets way too exposed because in a 4 back you have to have some decent pace. He just gets so exposed, and then you have to have a 3, and then that brings in none other than your boy Rudiger if Christensen can't go. And Rudiger, if Oblak's the dream, Rudiger's the nightmare. That could also be a T-shirt. He's just horrible. There's in my mind the vision of him trying to clear that ball out. It goes up in the air and the dude jams it home. What game was that? You know what I'm talking about? It was in the restart. It was so bad.
He should go out on loan. He should leave in January. That would be the best thing for him.
I've heard Giroud, actually. We were looking at transfers today. We were seeing that Marseille is trying to come after Giroud because teams realize that Giroud is always going to have to fight for time. A, because he can't play all the games because he's a little bit older. But B, because we have to keep a rotation going. Frank has to keep everyone kind of close to the campfire. I'm interested to see what Marseille is going to throw, because if they throw enough money and our defense needs a little help because Aspie's in a wheelchair, Rudiger's a nightmare, Alonso's depressed, we may need to go out and get a defender with that money or maybe do a swap with them.
Yeah, I think one of our transfer targets is David Alaba from Bayern Munich, who, he looks like a really good addition potentially. He can play, I think, pretty much anywhere in the back 4, but we'll have to see because this contract...
As a purchase, like a transfer, or as a loan?
Yeah, wait, is that for January?
I believe so. I think it was just rumors.
No, I actually saw the same thing, but I wasn't sure if it was a purchase or a...
it should be on a free. It should be on a free, so...
He is on a free, but isn't that in the summer?
That could be in January. Or, it would be in the summer, but I guess to acquire him would be through January. But we would be getting him...
Yeah, you wouldn't get him till the summer.
We need someone, because the Thiago Silva project, as I'll call it, I don't know how long it lasts. I think it gets us through this season, and I think next season he's kind of like what John Terry was towards the twilight. He's just like a guy who's around, because then it's like Zuma and Alaba need to be in the middle, and he needs to be doing cup games and do the Champions League games when we're playing a team that we're going to beat, Because we definitely need another center back. I actually like Christensen. I don't know what's happened to him, and I don't know what's happened to Alonso. Those to me are just question marks, because I thought Christensen... I don't know. I thought he had a great World Cup in 2018. I thought he'd been coming up through the ranks. When some of the other center backs kind of moved on and our defensive guys moved on, I figured he was going to find a place. He just never did. Just couldn't put it together. Always a liability. But he was also normally lined up with Rudiger. So there's that.
For that Christensen point, I think the main thing that I guess a lot of people may also think is his lack of physicality, as well as his aerial ability. We see Zuma is just a monster in the air, but Christensen, I don't think he really offers that. He does offer maybe a bit more, I guess, directness in playing the ball forward and just, I don't know, just bringing the ball forward to our attackers. But I think physicality is his main weakness.
We're going to change gears a little bit and talk about another London team. How long does Miguel Arteta have before he downloads and upgrades to LinkedIn Premium? You don't have to be nice in the podcast either.
Mikel Arteta. Yeah, so I've been able to catch a few Arsenal games. The one thing that springs to my mind is red cards. Always red cards with Pepe, with Xhaka, David Luiz. I mean, they're all over the place in terms of their discipline, right? I don't know. People talk about relegation. I think it's a bit of a joke, but it's slowly turning into reality if you think about it. They're only a few points off of the bottom three as of now. So if this keeps going on and if their form doesn't pick up, I think Arsenal might need to move on from Arteta or the Arteta project.
He definitely doesn't have a better record than Emery, and they got rid of him pretty quick. And what I think about Arteta, he's not ready to be a Premier League manager. He just looks like an assistant manager of a Premier League club who's in way over his head, doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and he got a lot of leeway because he was under Pep. But at Man City, he had $1 billion to spend, and they had super good players. At Arsenal, they don't spend as much money. They keep the purse strings a little tighter at Arsenal, and he couldn't go out. He can't go out and get like whoever he wants. He got Party. That was like it. And Gabriel.
Man City is like Bank of America. He's working at like a local cooperative bank. Yeah. You know, they have like bake sales. And
I think Arteta's like a nice guy, but I don't think those players care about playing for Arteta.
Is this the first time Arteta's actually coached a team? Because I know Frank coached a team. He coached Derby for like 5 seconds. But is this the first time?
One season.
One season. That's 5 seconds. Was this the first time Arteta's actually coached a senior team? I think it is, because I think he was always under Pep's wing.
Yeah. He's not that old. He stopped playing soccer like
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, like a couple of years ago. And he became an assistant manager like right away. Now he's the Premier League coach. I don't understand. Like,
I just feel like him taking the Arsenal job
was a bad move. He shouldn't have taken it.
It's a trial by fire situation.
Shouldn't have taken it.
Maybe go, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. But anyways, yeah, because we were always like, how long does he have to go? How long does he have to go? And then Bilic was the first one to be fired with West Brom, which we kind of also were saying, you know, when you're at the bottom, the board will look around and they'll do some math and they'll crunch some numbers and they'll say, we are so far off from being saved. We have to make a move. And so that wasn't too surprising, but we're always just like, how long does Arteta have? We used to think Ole was going to go, but now Ole is like the best coach in Europe, apparently, because they're ridiculous. We're trying to just figure out how long does Arteta have, and it's, I don't know, if you ask it on Twitter, you'll get 400 different answers. So,
do you know?
Evan, do you have the answer?
Do you have the answer? Please tell us. No, he doesn't.
No. Honestly, there's a lot of other candidates out there, right? You could choose in order to replace Arteta. I think that's something you have to consider first before you decide to sack a manager. There's there's Pochettino. Imagine if that happened, which is probably highly unlikely because he used to coach Spurs. But yeah, regarding Arteta, I would say if he gets past this winter festive schedule and their form's picking up, I feel like he's going to be okay. They're going to keep continuing on this project. But if it gets worse or it remains the same, I think he's got to go.
For us, would they finish 8th last season? Was it 8th?
Yeah, they finished 8th.
And so, to be quite honest, I don't think they're like shooting for anything higher than 8th. I think if they finished 8th, the board would be happy with Arteta.
Oh, if they finished 8th, there'd be a parade.
Yeah. At this point, it's just a joke. Like, we joke about it. Like, oh man, if Burnley win, if Brighton win, they'll be in 17th.
Yeah, I like FaceTime Jeff today with all these like crazy calculations, and I'm like, if Burnley win and Brighton win and we beat them and this happens and the stock market falls, Arsenal will be in relegation.
I'm just like, as a Spurs fan, I'm just loving it.
It's
the one consolation I can take.
It's a pretty good consolation.
It is.
So actually, let's just go right there and talk about Arsenal. What do you think is going to be the lineup going against Arsenal? What changes are going to be made, and what do you think prediction for that game? Because I don't like playing Arsenal, and I don't like playing Wolves, and now apparently I don't like playing Everton, because these are teams I think we play down to, and if they hang around long enough, they punish us, which happened to us last year against West Ham. It didn't happen this year, which was great, and I was glad to see Tommy get 2. I'd love seeing Thiago Silva score. When you look at the Arsenal game, what do you think, and what are the keys to that success?
Well, here's a better question. It's a better question. Will the lineup are you struggling with this because Arsenal is shit, you're not really worried about it, and so you're like, whatever, I'll just throw it they can throw it any team and they'll smash them.
Hudson-Odoi, center back guy.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Bring in the academy kids.
Giroud holding midfielder.
Honestly, I don't like playing Arsenal either, but this year, especially this year when Spurs played Arsenal, I was not like worried about it in the least.
I'm worried about it because it's a banana peel.
Right.
Do you think there's a chance that Chelsea don't get 3 points? We could start there.
That's a tough question. Yeah, to start off, I think Arsenal can be very unpredictable at times. There's some games where, Arteta's like doing pretty well. He has Aubameyang firing again, but he hasn't really been firing that much. I read a stat that they went over, I believe, 7 hours of playing without scoring a goal from open play. And also that one of their goals of the month was a penalty. So that kind of shows you the creativity or the lack of creativity. I mean, Willian hasn't really done much since moving from Chelsea to Arsenal. I think that was a bad purchase on their end. It was a good sale by us, by Chelsea. For this game, I think the key for Chelsea at least will be seeing whether or not Reece James or Chilwell will be fit. More or less, the lineup's going to be the same. I think Frank would like to keep that going. I don't know. It's unpredictable. It's a London derby, anything could happen.
So with today, where is it?
It's at the Emirates.
It's at the Emirates. Okay. Well,
so
I don't think that's very formidable these days, but they won't have any fans. That's another thing. But even if the fans were there, they might leave early. So
the Emirates right now is like a high school field of your rival. You like show up, you're like, all right, let's just throw the shinnies on and let's get done with this. What's your prediction for the score?
2-0.
Who's scoring?
I'm really backing Timo Werner to score, and then Christian Pulisic. I think Werner's going to break his duck or get out of that bad patch.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. I think Werner's going to score, and that's what one of the announcers said today. It was like, he's come so close on 3 or 4 different times. Like, he rang it off the crossbar. Also, I was like, dude, just score,
guys, bro. David Luiz and fucking Tierney, Rob Holding. Come on. These guys are bums. They are bums.
David Luiz will get roasted within the first 5 minutes. Christian Pulisic has got to be just like on TikTok right now giggling. He's like, I got to play against fucking David Luiz. Are you shitting me? Holding can't even turn. It takes him like 20 minutes to turn his body.
Yep.
Tierney's actually
Xhaka's still on a red card.
Okay.
Xhaka's still going to be on a red card, so he's not playing.
Oh, yeah. Xhaka was born with a red card.
There's no reason. Your team.
2-0, I think, is a conservative estimate. Yeah. And I think Evan's just a nice guy.
Yeah.
He just doesn't want to. All right, well, let's look at the other games. Ooh, Leicester City, Manchester United on Saturday. This is going to be a good game. These are 2 teams that are playing well. They're in form. They're number 2 and 3 right now in the table. What are you thinking for that game? Give me your score prediction. Number 2 and number 3. United somehow is in second. God knows how that happened. The universe got flipped upside down. What's that guy's name from the Avengers?
Ole was listening to our pod, and he was like, can't have these guys ripping on me.
Yeah, Ole's like, there's some people on the other side of the pond in a basement talking shit. But what's that guy's name from the Avengers? The guy who comes down, he's like, it all comes back to me, and then he kills half the people. Thanos. Somehow Ole turned into Thanos because they're second in the Premier League. It's ridiculous. You just picture it in your head and giggle?
Yeah.
It's pretty nice.
So what do we got for a score? What do we got?
Yeah, Leicester Man U. What are you thinking? First thing that comes to your mind. Go ahead. It's at King Power. That's important.
I think Leicester are going to win this game. I think a 1-0 to Leicester. Jamie Vardy's going to get in behind Maguire and score.
You love to hear
right
it.
Behind him. He's just going to like stand right behind him.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
That is a battle of 2 guys that when they're 50 still be playing in a pub league. Jamie will be back playing at his pub league, and Maguire will be there for the first time, still getting roasted. I think 1-0's fair. I like that. Aston Villa, Crystal Palace.
Villa coming off a big W.
Villa look good, but Crystal Palace is also annoying. So
also lost by 7 goals.
Came off a big L.
Yeah, not feeling very confident.
R.I.P. to Big L the rapper. What are you thinking? Aston Villa, Crystal Palace.
I have to go with Villa on this one. Jack Grealish has been very fun to watch this season. I think he's probably one of the most fouled players in the league as well, but the guy gets the job done every week, The score predictions, I would say 2-0. I think they can score 2 past Crystal Palace. They've scored 3 this past weekend, I think, against West Brom. So they look like they're in good form. They're doing really well this season as opposed to last year. So I think they can just keep it up.
I think 2-0 is conservative for this as well. I think that game could get out of hand. They have a lot going forward. And Crystal Palace's defense, I mean, good God, they have Gary Cahill back there. Like, the guy still plays. I love Gary Cahill. What a unique guy. Comes to Chelsea in the January in 2012. 6 months later, he's won the FA Cup and the Champions League. That rarely happens in soccer.
Happy birthday, Gary. 35 years old.
Oh, yeah, it was
his birthday this past week.
His birthday. How old is he?
35.
Oh, he is?
35 years young.
Wow,
Older than
35
us.
years, about to get scored on by Jack Grealish.
Yeah, Ollie Watkins.
Oh, Wally Watkins is nice. Fulham, Southampton.
Southampton are going to win this match, I think. I would say a 2-0 Southampton. I'm surprised they are just at the bottom of the table right now, but I don't know. What do you guys think about Fulham this season?
You know, at the beginning of the season, Jeff and I put Fulham on the train back to the championship. They were like sitting first class, but they look more and more competitive, and I think they're kind of finding their niche, and what they're doing is they're figuring out what their strengths are, and they just realize they really need to play to those and hide their weaknesses. And that sounds like, oh, you can say that about any team, but what they did against Liverpool I thought was impressive, because those two teams couldn't be more different. On paper, Liverpool win 98% of the time.
Yeah.
But Fulham went forward. They went at them. They attacked. I think Fulham realized they play better when it's just kind of like when they kind of adopt what Leeds does, which is like, let's make the game open. Let's turn it into a little bit of a track meet, and we can't sit back. If we sit back and hope to stay in the Premier League, we are going right to the championship. So when they put their foot on the front pedal, I think it's a lot more of an exciting Fulham, and they realize that when they sit back, that's actually when they're exposed.
I actually want to say something controversial that people probably won't agree with me, but I think Fulham is better than Brighton.
Really?
Yeah, I think Fulham's better than Brighton.
Fulham better than Brighton?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I picked Brighton to get relegated this year, and I think it's going to be Brighton, West Brom, and Sheffield. Sheffield's not going to do the escape. They're not. They're
Jeff, for the
not.
past 4 episodes, has been saying Sheffield is going to do the escape. And
No, I've been saying Sheffield's going to pick up a win
guy.
eventually. I think Fulham's slightly better than Brighton. I think Brighton's really been slumping lately.
Is that the hottest of takes, Jeff? They're separated by 2 points in the table.
It's not a hot take, but it might be people might not agree with that.
Okay, well, all the Fulham fans, please don't spam us. I mean the Brighton fans.
Southampton should win this game.
I think Southampton look great. I think James
They had a tough loss last week.
He's in a moment right now. Danny Ings, I don't think he'll be fit. I think he got injured. Adams looks good, though. I don't want to play them. Romeo fits really well in the holding. They look good. Their defense is pretty nice. I never like playing the Saints. They're another one of these teams that just constantly plays competitive soccer. So Manchester City, Newcastle. This one should be a little bit easier for you to think about. Should be a little more straightforward.
Yeah, I think a straightforward 3-0 would be pretty comfortable.
Once again, potentially conservative, because Newcastle have looked a shambles and when they want to, and when City really want to go forward. So, it's a long game to pack a line of 5 and 4 and put a guy up top and have Callum Wilson hanging out at half playing, doing Sudokus by himself, waiting for the ball. So I think 3-0 sounds right. Sheffield, Everton. Is this a game where Sheffield maybe... Do they steal a point, which would be so great for Chelsea? I can't even tell you how great that'd be for Chelsea and Spurs.
Yeah, as a Chelsea fan, you'd want Sheffield to take all 3 points. But realistically, thinking about it, yeah, I can't see Sheffield doing that. I think Everton are just going to blow by them. I would say maybe a 2-1. Maybe Sheffield do get a foot in with 1 goal, but
McGoldrick's looking
yeah, McGoldrick.
He's the Ronaldinho of the Blades.
Well, he's playing himself into the eyes of other Premier League managers. So when they get relegated, he'll stay in the Premier League.
Every week he has an interview. It's called Playing for Sheffield. He's just trying to, hey, when this team goes down,
pick me up.
Find me. Here's my number.
Yeah.
Leeds Burnley. Yep. This is going to be a really good game because Leeds, as I think Gary Neville was saying on Sky today, he was like, Leeds, say what you want about them. They are fun to watch. Even when they lose, they're fun to watch. And when they lost to United, we watched this whole game. Even when they were losing, they weren't just sitting back. They didn't just say, all right, it's over. They kept playing to the 94th, whatever minute that went to, still trying to get forward, still trying to make things happen. I think United just took their chances this game. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you score 6 goals. Sometimes they hit the crossbar a couple times. Maybe that game's 3-2. Maybe it's a little bit closer.
Sometimes McTominay scores 2 goals within 4 minutes.
McTominay apparently scores 2 goals in the first 3 minutes. The first time it's ever happened in a Premier League, which was ridiculous. Were you able to catch this game? Because that was like, we were watching it, and Jeff was down in the basement like doing something. He was down here doing something. He came out. I'm like, United are up 2-0. Both of them.
I'm just like...
It was like it was a practical joke on anyone who came in 5 minutes late to that game.
Yeah.
Leeds Burnley, what are you thinking?
I think I just want to reiterate how fun Leeds are to watch. They're so attacking. I love watching their games.
I think Leeds will take this game 2-1. That's my.
You're gonna bounce back after.
I think that's a good prediction.
Yeah, they're going to bounce back. I just think they're going to just go forward and ask more questions of Burnley than Burnley will of them. And I think that they defend well enough on set pieces that Leeds should win this game. It's not going to be a pretty win, but they'll win the game because playing against any Sean Dyche team is like getting in the trenches. So I do see Leeds winning this, though.
The interesting stat about Burnley is that they don't score goals. They have 8 goals for the season. 8. That's not many goals. So they've got nothing going forward. So when they score a goal, they get super excited. Today they were like pumped up beyond anything I've ever seen. They were like on cloud 9, like doing freaking jumping jacks, and I don't know. It was crazy.
Champagne in the locker room.
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, I like Sean Dyche and I like Turf more, and I think that's it's like I like.
No,
that
I
whole
just
scene.
think you like saying turf more.
I just like the whole scene over there.
You like the scene?
You like the whole scene.
It's like a house party. You go in, you're like, hey, I like this. You guys did good with the decor in here. Nice funk music.
All right, let's move on. West Ham, Brighton.
West Ham, Brighton. Ooh.
I like West Ham. I think they have a lot of good players. They have Ben Rama, who looks exciting. They have got Thomas Souček, Declan Rice. Obviously, we play them today. They look dangerous today still, but yeah, West Ham. I think West Ham's gonna win.
Agree.
And it would even be more of a confident West Ham would win if they had Antonio back. They're really missing him.
Yeah,
that was very evident today because there was no ball in over the top. And sometimes when you have that against a Zuma, and especially a Thiago Silva who's a little bit slower in transition, that can expose us. But when you don't have a guy up top who can kind of get him behind, it's more troubling. Liverpool, West Brom. This looks simple.
That's going to be a slaughter.
It could be a slaughter, but Liverpool have dropped points to like random teams.
Is
like
that at Anfield?
Is the game at Anfield? Checking. Yes, it is at Anfield. Okay, Liverpool will win this game 4-0.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it could be more.
It could be more.
It could be more.
It could be at watching what they did to Crystal Palace. Some of the goals, Salah just like the other thing is Salah will score a worldie that I would like run in the corner and take my shirt off for, and he just turns
like
around,
trots around and just
gets down.
Casual.
Yeah,
just another goal.
Touches his forehead to the ground and then hugs Mane, and they're like, "All right, this is fun."
Yeah. It was crazy how many different players scored in that game. Very impressive.
And we now come to a team in London. Not the team in London.
A team in London.
A team in London. Good old Spursy. Spursy versus Wolves. A team I never like playing because Nuno Santos is like he's a magician.
Portuguese magician.
I'm going to actually throw this one to Jeff, and we're going to watch him squirm. Sweat. What do you think, Jeff?
I want to see how the game versus Stoke goes this week. I think that's going to have a big impact on how I feel about Wolves. I think if they go out and they just show that they just smoke Stoke and with like backups, I think smoke Stoke.
Nice.
But you know how those games end up going. It'll be like Stoke's pretty defensive, so that they'll just sit in and invite pressure and hopefully go on the counter. But Tottenham, they might struggle against Neto and Podence because Podence is pretty quick in the front third, but Tottenham's defense is much improved, and as long as Aurier doesn't play,
your boy,
yeah, as long as Aurier doesn't play and Doherty plays, or even like Davies,
you think Doherty's going to play?
I think Doherty will play. Yeah, I think he'll play
like
against
Stoke.
I think he'll play. No, he'll play against Stoke for sure, and then based on that, I think it'll be a game time decision.
Because it's at Molineux, and Evan and I have recent PTSD from Molineux, where they came back and Kurt Zouma had a training session where he let the guy dribble in for 40 yards and then shoot.
I remember that.
God,
yeah. That wouldn't have. I don't
poke my eyes out.
I actually think it's going to be a tie, a 1-1 tie.
A 1-1 tie. That will mean from your last 9 possible points, you will take 1.
Yeah, honestly, Connor Cody is nice. He's good. He's a really good center back.
He's on my fantasy team.
He's the best player in that team, and he anchors their defense, and they're just solid in the back. And so they don't make a lot of mistakes back there, and I am not entirely confident. Not so much Kane and Son because obviously they're world class, but they've been having trouble at times finding each other. I mean, 20 of the 25 goals Spurs have scored this season have been from those two. I mean, it's just you're not finding goals from anybody else. Dele's not playing well and not even playing. Lamella might come back, but you know how Lamella is, just likes dribbling, doesn't really like doing anything else with the ball. You know, Bale's not fit yet or isn't ever going to be because he's 33.
Why is he not fit?
Because he hasn't played soccer in over a year?
He hasn't played soccer in like 3 years, but still, why is he not fit?
He's not quick. Athlete. He's not match fit. That's what I mean.
Why is he not match? Oh,
I don't know.
Okay, he's not match fit, right? Because he hasn't been playing matches. Okay, that's fine. But like, is he like working out, training? Is he just like doing putt?
Yeah, I don't know.
Paying that dude a lot.
I could be wrong. Maybe
is he your Osil?
He's not our Osil because we're not paying him like $250,000 a week. We're paying him like $100,000 a week. We're splitting his salary with Madrid.
That's right. Madrid's
footing half of his bill.
They wanted him off the books so bad. They're like, please just go play with Jose in his sandbox, and we'll pay to have that happen.
And I think he's happy, even if he's not. He's sitting on the bench and he's happy.
Yeah, because he can understand the language.
Yeah, and he's just clowning around with the boys.
With the boys.
Yeah.
What do you think is the score? 2-2? 1-1?
No, I think 1-1.
Evan, do you concur with that? Tie?
Yeah, I agree. I think a 1-1 is pretty good.
Even though they gave up 2 goals this past game to Leicester, one of them was an own goal and one of them was a penalty. They don't give up a lot of goals. They haven't given up a lot of goals. They're not going to give up a lot of goals to a team that's missing Raul Jimenez and doesn't have Jota anymore.
That's what just Evan and I said, and then they scored 2 goals. So be careful what you wish for.
Every week is so different. Every week, like this, like you guys threw the game away to Wolves, and then you friggin' go out and you smash West Ham and looked awesome. So who knows? And then now Liverpool is like apparently the best team in Europe. So fuck, right?
Honestly, every 5 minutes the Premier League changes, but that's why we watch.
No Monday games this week, which is nice.
There is no Monday games this upcoming week, but that's also because this is the Boxing Day.
True.
The 26th and the 27th, because Christmas, the Cumple de Jesus is on Friday.
Right.
So then these are the Boxing Day games. Those are the games that are like the most watched games, especially over here on this side of especially in the United States. Yeah. Like for the United States fans, because, well, Evan, are you in, where are you located? You're in California, right?
Yes, California.
Right. So some of these games are brutally early because all the Saturday games for you are at, some of the good ones are at
4
7
a.m.
Yeah, there's one that's at 4:30, I think, a.m., and then most of them are at 7, and then there's one at like 9:30.
The Chelsea's at 9:30 for you.
Like for us though, like on a Saturday, typical Saturday or Sunday, we could literally watch games all day. Sounds like your games are over midday, which is actually, you can get stuff done in the second half of the day.
Yeah, I kind of like it. You wake up early, you see your team win, hopefully, and then you still have, I still have the rest of this day, to celebrate
or your team loses, and Evan
dark.
and I were like sitting in a dark room with just the glow of my phone. I was like, well, there's always next year at Molineux.
Well, there's always Champions League.
We'll always have 2012 Drogba.
I actually have one more question for Evan, and we didn't get to this question earlier.
Is this a personal question?
No, this is just a question about how teams are going to finish in the.
Great question. This is a great question.
So we have 3 clubs. We got Leicester, Chelsea, and Tottenham. Leicester, Chelsea, Tottenham. Right, 3 teams that are bounced in and out of the top 4. Which team is going to finish the highest this season, or maybe rank them? Maybe 1, 2, 3.
I want to say Leicester's going to finish the lowest. As a Chelsea fan, I want to say Chelsea's going to finish the highest of that 3, but knowing Mourinho and his past second season finishes, Mourinho has finished either first or second in, I think, every second season he's had at other clubs, whether it be Real Madrid, Porto, or at Chelsea. I think Tottenham could finish second potentially, but I really don't want to say that. I want to say Chelsea's going to finish higher than both of those 2 teams. So I'm going to go with Chelsea finishing second, and then Tottenham third, and then Leicester fourth.
Oh, I see what you did. Okay, but if just looking at those 3 teams, you're saying Chelsea will finish before Leicester, and Leicester will finish before Tottenham.
No. He's saying Chelsea, Tottenham, Leicester. Like those. That
yes.
order.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Last week, I would say, hell no. Mourinho's ponies. They're going to be friggin' Spurs, number 1, baby. But now I'm like, my confidence has been shaken, and I'm in my feelings. I don't feel good about life anymore. I want to loan out Winks, get rid of Winks, get rid of Aurier, bring in 4 defenders.
Jeff's boss is like, Jeffrey, we've known a downtick in your performance lately. Is there something that's going on?
Yeah, I'm just crying under my desk.
Oh my God.
So actually, to answer your question, I think it's going to be, and this actually fits in line with my prediction of where Chelsea's going to finish this season. And it's Chelsea, Spurs, Leicester. I don't think Leicester has like the. You saw they fell apart last season. They just fell apart.
If they don't have Madison, they fall apart.
Yeah, no Madison. If
He's
they don't
so
get,
good.
If they get Soyuncu back though, it's a different story.
I think when you look at that, you have to think about who's the team that's going to be the most defensive, because all those teams can score goals any random week. Spurs scored 6 against United. Chelsea, we've scored. I think we've had more games with 3 goals than I think any other team in the league right now.
We've scored 26 goals in total, and I read like the expected goals was 21. So I think we're going to score a lot more goals, but it's just our defense that you have to worry about.
After today's win, 29 goals.
Ooh, after today's win, 29, which is second only to
Liverpool.
And Liverpool's top 3 is fabled. I agree with, and I'll go biased opinion because I like that about Evan because we are Blues fans. I'll go Chelsea, Tottenham, Leicester. I think Leicester are more of a sieve than the other 2 defensively. And then I'll put Chelsea in front of Tottenham because I'm a Chelsea fan.
Also want to point out about this the Leicester-Tottenham game is that there was, on Brighton had a ridiculous foul in like the 23rd minute. He kicked Kane in like the stomach and VAR didn't review it. He should have been sent off, and that would have changed the entire game. And it's not like they scored any goals from open play. I mean, that Aurier challenge on the corner of the box was ridiculous. It wasn't a scoring opportunity for them. So it was just a bonehead play. They got a freebie goal, and then the own goal was a miscommunication where Toby kneed into the goal, and that could have been the goal scoring chance. So I'll give it to them. Then they got a goal taken away from him. That was an amazing play by Madison. That was like borderline offsides. So okay, they can score with Madison. I think Madison's really good, but if it's without Madison,
without Madison at the end of the season, I actually thank him for letting Chelsea get in the Champions League because Leicester basically shit themselves.
Yeah,
so
they shit themselves, and I don't think they really recovered fully from that like kind of falling apart last season. They do have. I mean, they are obviously in seconds.
I feel like they've coped with it. They've done
coped
their
with
therapy.
It. Yeah, but they also have looked a little suspect at times.
They look suspect. They've gotten beat bad. City beat them 4-0 randomly.
Yeah,
a City side that people are not impressed with. That hasn't looked like City of old. So, yeah. I guess one last thing, Evan, when you look forward into the future in your crystal ball, what are the pieces that you'd like Chelsea to pick up in the summer?
Well, you could even talk about January too.
We can talk about January, but are we is it Dalit Alba? Is it Declan Rice? What are the pieces that you think would be really complementary to what we already have going on, the current project?
Yeah, I think you said it right there with Declan Rice. He's probably the main target. I don't think we really need any more signings in other areas. I know some people were saying, we might need another winger because of all these injuries, but I think we're fine without getting another winger. I think we should just focus mainly on Declan Rice. The problem is if we do get Declan Rice, we might have to let go of Jorginho or, I don't know, someone else in order to free up more room, because we do have a lot of players who can play in that midfield role. We have Conte still. Declan Rice would be sort of that next heir to Conte. I'm not so sure where Frank Lampard would want to play him, but that's what I'm thinking. But definitely Declan Rice is the target.
If you want to send Jorginho away tomorrow at a loss, he can go. He, to me, is sorry ball. He is a vestigial remain of when soccer was played with a 4-pound ball. He can go. Bye. Bye, Felicia. And it would be cool to see Conte and Declan Rice next to each other, holding. If you had that, our midfield would be just phenomenal. It'd probably be the best.
Right now, just play Kovacic. Like I don't think he's. Like
I think we should totally play Kovacic.
I just think he's solid.
Do you like Jorginho, Evan? You could say you do.
I have mixed feelings. Yeah, the first season he came, a lot of people didn't like him. I thought it was okay, but the thing is, he always just passes side to side, side to side, and that's part of, I guess, Sarri ball, right? We've been through that. Sarri's gone now, so he's not really under that mold of a Sarri type player. I don't see a long-term future for him at the club though, because we do have Kai Havertz, we do have Mason Mount, we still have Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Ross Barkley out on loan. We have Billy Gilmore, who's a much younger player, who essentially is the next Jorginho type of player, who can just hit long balls forward, facilitate play. The thing about Jorginho is that he does provide leadership and he does provide, I guess, the ability to take penalties. But we do have other players who can take penalties, like Timo Werner. Declan Rice would be an ideal substitute.
I think Declan Rice would be a phenomenal fit. Watching him even today, I was really impressed. He doesn't really have other players. He doesn't really have great players around him per se. So if you were to put him in with Chelsea, I just see him even getting better.
Just like Chilwell.
With all the English connections, Declan Rice is formerly of Chelsea. He's like best friend with Mason Mount. They're all essentially grown up near each other. They'll just continue to improve each other.
Yeah, and Declan Rice's father is a season ticket holder at Chelsea, and
Right.
Declan Rice just made his father his agent, so he's coming to Chelsea. That's going to happen.
I hear the release clause is going to be like 120, like 100 million or something crazy.
From West Ham?
Yeah, it's going to be high. Well, they've said that. They've said that. West Ham will see the dollar bills and they'll be like, okay, all right.
Yeah,
all right.
we'll give him Jorginho and Kepa.
But once West Ham start dropping down in the table, they start drop down to like 9th, 10th, 11th. They're going to be like, well, all right, we need to be financially responsible and get rid of a player who's high value to get a few other players that can.
Yeah, because maybe they could honestly
wage-wise
take. It's fine for me if they take Loftus-Cheek and Barkley.
Ross Barkley.
Yeah, give us Declan. You take those two.
I bet Barkley's on a loan to buy at
Think so?
Villa, probably.
Yeah, he's done well. Those players, I don't know.
So there's a lot of clauses like that in those contracts.
Yeah,
You never know, especially if Villa stay up.
especially if Villa stay up. I think they will.
Do we have Dave's picks? No,
We
Dave's
don't have
picks.
Dave's picks. Normally we have Dave's picks. We don't have Dave's picks. Blame me.
We could add him in post.
We could add him in post. Let's look at fantasy really quick. Number 1 is Jesus Larry, Jason Nice, all the way to the top with 808. Number 2, not so special one, Ozatique, also a Chelsea fan. And number 3, Los Bandoleros in 798. Jeff, you dropped all the way to 6, my guy.
I know I had a bad week.
And in the bottom, still Grand's Gang, Murder on the Dance Floor, and Chicago. Those guys are going to stay in the bottom forever. We may not even talk about relegation.
No, we're not going to.
And I went up from 11th to 10th. That's where I live.
You're closing the gap to me.
I'm basically Crystal Palace. I live between 10 and 12.
You're closing the gap.
That's it.
I was in first place for a hot half weekend.
So you're just like Spurs.
Yeah, just like Spurs, baby.
A hot weekend. Well, Evan, thank you so much for hopping on the pod. We will keep in touch. I love following your Instagram. If you want to, you want to shout out your Instagram, because if you're on Instagram and you're a Chelsea fan, or even if you're not and you're interested because you're a U.S. men's national team fan because Christian Pulisic plays on Chelsea, follow Evan. Do you want to shout out your handle really quick?
Yeah. Thanks. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me on this podcast. It was fun. It was great. I think I'd love to do this again, hopefully, or if not, that's okay too. But
you will be invited back.
My Instagram handle is Evan Cheung Football. You can just try typing in Evan and then type in CHEUNG, and hopefully it'll pop up. But
yeah, you'll be there, and we'll share your Instagram on our YouTube page, because this episode will pop up on YouTube.
So thank you so much, Evan, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks, Evan.
Thank
Ciao.
you.
Ciao.
When you watch this team live and you're seeing them for the first time in the Premier League in this last few months, it is simply breathtaking. You cannot really say anything negative about it. And there will be cynics out there who say, well, it's ridiculous. They can see that many goals. They do this wrong. They do that wrong. Bielsa's, it's just it's the aura and presence of Bielsa.
There might be other managers saying that.
There will be. There absolutely will be. But I've watched 4 games live of Leeds United this season, and I want to see brilliant performances. I like seeing Burnley play tonight against Wolves. It's going to be a very different game. We're going to admire, a lot more of a rigid game, a methodical game. But how can we watch what we saw yesterday, which the game against Manchester City was one of the best 45 minutes of football I've seen in the Premier League in the last 10 years working at Sky. That yesterday was breathtaking end to end. And they're throwing out statistics in games which are just completely different, say, for instance, than what Burnley do, than what maybe West Brom will do, than what Fulham will do. And I haven't got anything bad to say about it.
It's like Spurs in the old days. We're giving them lots of credit. Jose Mourinho sorted them out. They've given a crazy goal away. They conceded late on against Liverpool set play. They don't hang on against Crystal Palace. They're going back to the old Spursy way. Bit of softness. It's been a bad week for Tottenham. I think I mentioned it earlier that there was no spark with them. They looked a bit soft. Even the second goal there, Sissoko not winning the header. They'll need to bounce back quick.
Thanks for listening to the Boys and Bolos podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Twitch at Boys and Bolos.
If you'd like to be a guest, please reach out. You can hit us on any of the social media accounts that Jeff just mentioned, or email us directly at boysandbowls@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, and see you next time.